There's been many powerful nations in Europe. One in particular that we are going to talk about is Prussia. Prussia historically has been through many problems, but has been able to go over them due to Prussian discipline and their great military. Even when they were at their weakest, they were able to keep on fighting. We're going to talk about one of their greatest moments in the Austrian-Prussian War, how they were able to successfully win without much loss, and be really smart and strategic about how the victory went. You'll see in the Austrio-Prussian War. Our story begins with the Austrian Empire. They had reformed the German Confederation. Now, the German Confederation was a very old entity, and many didn't see it as efficient anymore. One of them was Prussia. Prussia was always seen as more like a little puppet area of Austria, but Prussia would prove them wrong, and they would show all their strength and power. They would refuse against Austrian decisions, and soon, with the help of Otto von Bismarck, a genius, he would make sure that no one entered the conflict, especially France and Britain, as they would probably wreck everything. Now, what were Prussia and Austria's ultimate goals? Austria's goal was to use the German Confederation to unite all of the Germans and be the leader of them all. Basically, just rule all the Germans and keep them united, but not really. It was kind of complicated. Prussia's goal was just simply to unite Germany. They wanted to unite the German countries into one enormous state. Now, one of their conflicts was with Denmark, where they would take the lands of Schleswig and Holstein. They would fight over what to do with it, but eventually split it in half. Now that they had solved that conflict over there in Denmark, they would now argue over the future of Germany. The war would start when Austria put troops into Schleswig. This would make a massive disadvantage, especially with all the other German states ganging up on Prussia. Prussia, in fear, decided to invade and protect themselves, as they knew Austria would eventually encircle them and destroy them. Prussia would start the conflict by invading all the Middle German states and annexing them all within, making a North German Confederation and splitting off from Austria. Austria angrily decided to invade. Also, I just wanted to mention this. Italy exists. They were promised Venice if they helped, and that's kind of it. They were honestly kind of useless. Now, many of the commanders and generals knew that Prussia was a very tough nation, and they were a little bit afraid of this. But Franz Joseph, leader of Austria, would not give up, and he would not just back out that easily. The first major battle that would happen during the Austro-Prussian War was known as the Battle of Konigrat, located in modern-day Czech Republic. In this battle, during a dark and stormy night, the Austrians, with an army of about 215,000, would fight the undermanned army containing of only 124,000. They were severely outnumbered, but luckily they would have reinforcements coming soon. They just need to hold the best they can. July 3rd, 1866, the battle has started. The Prussians make the first assault on the right flank, led by General Hermann von Bittenfeld. The next part of the plan was General Francisci sending 2 corps through his troops through a small forest area, where they would be another successful takedown of the Austrians. Soon, Prince Wilhelm decides to send in the First Army, now with all the troops coming in and being able to successfully take in the central flank and push them all, taking the town of Sadova. This had freaked out Austria enormously, as now they had tried to take much more defensive position and very scared of the Prussian offense. As the first Prussian army was marching through the Prussia River, they were being berated by an enormous amount of cannon fire. Luckily for them, the Austrians did not send any cavalry, which the cavalry probably would have wiped them all out and pushed them back. and so they took this to their advantage and were able to hold out in the river. One of the main reasons Prussia was able to win so well against Austria was their effective weapons, known as the needle gun. Their weapons were able to allow them to recharge while moving and not just standing still, being an open target. With this advantage, they were able to hold out against any Austrian attacks on them. Unfortunately, these attacks kept on hitting them and really hurt the First Prussian army. It looked like maybe they wouldn't have won the war. But, out of all odds, the Second Prussian army arrived, led by Prince Wilhelm himself. He came in marching, making an enormous flank and taking out the entire Austrians, wiping them out and giving the Prussians a massive victory, and gave them their greatest hope ever. After this massive victory, the Austrians kept on running away, but the Prussians would not let them get away, so they kept on chasing them, having small skirmishes, until they decided to finally surrender. It was known as the Peace of Prague. At first, it didn't look like Austria would have a very good treaty, but Bismarck, seeing Austria more as an ally in the future than a big foe, decided to give a much lighter treaty. Wilhelm angrily said no, but would be forced to do it as Bismarck literally threatened to jump off a 4-story building if he denounced the treaty. And so with this new peace treaty signed, it changed everything. The only stuff Austria would lose was Schleswig, the southern German states, and Venice. That was basically it. The German Confederation would be destroyed, but that didn't mean it was the entire destruction of Austria, and so they were pretty happy about this treaty, and saw Germany in the future more like an ally than a foe. Unfortunately, they wouldn't live that long. Austria would become Austria-Hungary, and then eventually collapse within 1918. Though the southern German states were not really part of the northern German Confederation, they were now in their sphere of influence. Bismarck now needed a way to fully unite everybody and get them to join without having to force them, and so he looked to another country to see if he can finish off his master plan. This would start a new war known as the Franco-Prussian War. Stay tuned for another video in the future about the Franco-Prussian War. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.